everybody, Hayley here from Hayleys Cards, and today I want to show you how I've made this card. Now this is actually using a brand new set from Crafter's Companion. Now I'm just going to bring this in. I've actually received this in my design team package. It's called Seasonal Car and it's a stamp and die set. And it's fabulous. It makes all these different designs from this seasonal car. So, for example, you've got a just married, a pasture test, happy Easter, Halloween, birthday, Christmas, etc. And it comes with a huge set of dies, instruction sheet, and the stamps. Now, I've gone and I've created this card. My son's actually taking his driving lessons, so I might save this one for him in the hope that he does actually pass his test. So let me jump in. I'm going to show you some of the products. So like I say, this is the seasonal car stamp and die set. I've also used on this card the Colour Your World paper pad, and it's full of all sorts of different vibrant, colourful design papers. So I've just picked a sheet out of that, and I've also got some cardstock, and these are all the dies that I'm actually going to use. I'm just going to show you quickly the actual die set. So obviously I've just taken some off there. So this is the die set that you get, and this is a huge set. And with it, it comes with the instruction leaflet. Now all these dies actually correspond in numbers. Now say for example you wanted to make this car, it gives you a guide of what numbers on the stamp set to use to create that particular design. So I thought that were really handy to have. That's a really good idea, I thought. So what I've done is I've taken a few of these dies here, and I've got some scraps of my card, and I'm going to cut them out. I'm going to do the car in a blue. I've got some black wheels. Oops, that's just come a little bit off a little bit there. Excuse me. I've got a little bit of silver mirror card for the sort of like trim and the lights and things like that. And then I've got some white card. And with the white card, I'm actually just going to use my alcohol markers and colour in the bits that I want. So I'm going to go now and I'm going to get those cut. And we're going to set up from the base card, the mats and layers in the background, and up. Okay, so for the base card then, this is a UK standard DL shop bought base card. And if you're not familiar with what a DL is, it literally means double the length to the width. So you could make this of any size that you like. For example, if you wanted an 8" by 4", that would be a DL. It's double the length to the width. So that's all that is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some mats and layers. So first of all, I'm going to take a black piece of card and I'm going to cut this down to 8 by 3 3/4. So I'm going to cut my length at 8, and I'm going to cut that then at 3 3/4. Okay, so that's going to be for the back. I'm going to bring in the design paper, and I want the pattern going horizontally, and I want to cut this now at, I'm going to cut it this way first at 3.5, and then I'm going to cut it lengthways at 7 3/4. Okay. And I've also got a grey strip running through the middle. And whilst I'm here, I might as well cut that as well. So I want this at 2 inches, also by 7 3/4. And I want a very small strip of black. So I've got some black card, and I'm going to cut that roughly about 1/2 inch. I'm not actually really measuring this, so roughly 1/2 inch. Okay, and with this I'm also going to just trim it down to 8 just to make it easier for me. And I'm going to trim this at every inch. So I'm going to do it at 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So I've got these tiny little pieces cut. I'm also just going to cut one more layer with the black, and that is going to measure 2 1/8 by 7 7/8. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I've got all the pieces cut now for the background, and what I want to do is I want to try and create a road. It's very basic, very simple. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to, down the centre of this grey panel, I'm just going to stick these black rectangles that I've cut out, and it gives the impression that it's a road. I guess it's not very realistic, obviously, but I thought that'd look nice. So I'm going to go away now, and I'm going to get all these bits glued together. Okay, so I've got those pieces stuck together, and like I say, it's not realistic, but you do get the idea. And I've stuck those two together as well. I'm going to pop that on the base card. I'm going to glue that down. Into the centre of that DL card, and then with this piece I'm just going to add a little bit of foam. So I'm just bringing in my foam tape, and I will add a little bit of foam tape to the back of this. Peel the backing off of that. I'm going to stick this into the centre of that panel. Like so. Okay, so we've got that now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the car. So I'm just going to bring all the bits and pieces in that I've already cut out. So I used my guide, and I've cut out all these little bits here. So for the car, I've actually left the die cut inside the die. What I want to do is I just want to bring in a little bit of ink, and I'm going to use this die as kind of like a stencil, I guess, and I want to ink inside there. So what I'm going to use is the Crafter's Companion Duet Ink Pad, and this is Sailor's Wake. It's like a tealy colour. I'm just going to pick a little bit up on my blending brush, and I'm going to stencil through that die cut. Get these little side panels. Okay, and then I'm going to gently remove that from the die, and that's what we have there. Just gives it its shape, I think. And to clean this off, all I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a baby wipe and make sure I've got all that ink removed, because I don't want that there the next time I go to use this die. So I'll be right back. Right, so I've cleaned off all my die now. So I've got my car. I've cut this piece out of silver. Got some black wheels. I have my mirrors in silver. And then I've got a load of little die cuts in here. And I'm going to come back to them. I'm going to assemble this first. So all I'm going to do is take my glue, and I'm going to add a little bit of glue to the top of where these wheels are. I'm just going to take my tweezers, because I find this easier to do with tweezers. And I'm just going to add the car on top of that die cut there. So it gives the illusion this is the back of the car, and these are obviously the wheels. So now I'm going to take this silver piece, which is sort of the, oh, sorry, wrong way around. I'm going to place that on there. And I guess this is the bumper, is that right? I'm not sure. I'm going to place some glue on this die cut now, on this silver piece. I'm going to place that around the edge there. Okay, so you can see it's starting to come together. On this piece where the mirrors are, I don't want to see this bar. This bar is actually going to hide behind the car, so this is where I'm going to put the glue. I'm going to put my glue on there, and again I'm going to place the car on top of this. So I want the wing mirrors to sort of peek out from behind, so like that, and just give that a second, because that is mirror card, so it does take a little bit longer to adhere the glue. Right, so I've got that ready now. I'm going to pop that to one side, and I'm going to bring in a few pens and all these little die cuts. So if I just empty that there, okay, so we have the little, I know that this is very hard to see. Let me bring in a piece of card that's going to make it easy for you to be able to see. Just bear with me. There we go, that's a little bit better. Right, so we have all these little pieces now. we're going to colour. I don't need that one. And arrange. Right, so I'm going to start with this one. So I'm going to take my scissors. This sounds awful. Actually, I'm just going to chop that head off there. I'm going to remove that because that was a female head. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace it with his male head because I want it for my son. So that's the reason I'm doing that. You could have either. You could customize this however you like. So I'm just going to pop some glue on the back of there. I'm going to attach this now to this arm like so. I'm also going to take this piece, and this piece is going to be his hair. So I'm going to take a little bit of glue and I'm going to add his hair in. You can start to see it form its shape now. Pop these to one side for a moment and I'm going to colour this. So I want him to have a blue t-shirt. So I'm going to mark out where I think his t-shirt might go. I'm just going to colour it. Like this. And I'm using my Spectrum Noir tri-blend pens, and this one is Turquoise Blue Extend. I'm just going to add the tiniest bit of shading. This isn't necessary if you don't want to do this. I quite like it. I think it just gives it a little bit of definition. I'm going to do that and then go over the whole piece. And that's his t-shirt. And then I'm going to do his skin. So for this one I'm going to use Fair Skin Blend, and his skin's going to be where his t-shirt ends there and his arm and his hand is holding up to the sky, and his neck and his face like so. And again I'm just going to add a little bit of shading in there, and it's definitely not necessary, but if you like to do this then you can do that yourself. So I'm going to colour his hair and I'm going to use Earth Brown Blend. I'm going to colour over his hair. Like so. He's got some brown hair there. And then we've got these little squares and an L and a P. I'm just gonna poke that little piece out in the centre there. Get rid of that. Right, so I'm not sure if this is the same in every country, but here in the UK, if you're a learner driver, you will have an L plate. So I'm going to colour that in red. and that is the dark red blend. And the passed sign, which is when you actually pass your test, is normally green. So I'm going to colour that in green. Okay, so I'm going to use my tweezers to just pick that up and pop some glue on the back. I'm just going to pop that into the centre of that little tiny white square, like so. And look at my hands. I'm going to pop some glue on the back of the little one, and I'm going to pop that in the centre there of that white square. Okay, so because this guy has just passed his test, what I want to do is I'm just going to pop a little bit of glue behind his hand there, and I want it to look like he's holding the actual passed plate, like so. That's really cute. What I'm going to do is I'm going to attach him now inside the car, like so. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of glue along the edge there, and again I'm going to pop the car like so, and his head's actually just poking out at the top of the car. Oops, didn't leave that long enough to dry. Just give that a second. Yeah, his head's actually just popping out of the top of the car there, so I'm just going to trim that like so. I've been chopping people's heads off today, haven't I? Right, give that a minute to set now. With the learner plate, I'm going to take a small foam square. I'm going to add this to the back. Peel that back in off. You can just see that, so I'm just going to trim it slightly. Like that. And I'm going to add it to the car, because that's where we'd have it. We'd have it on the back of the car. Right, so I've got my learner plate on there, and that's the car pretty much ready to go. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take this registration plate and I'm going to bring in the stamp set, and it has this little sentiment here, passed, and I've added that to an acrylic block, and I'm going to use some VersaFine Clear Nocturne ink, and I'm going to stamp that in the centre. Oops, like so, so it says passed. I'm going to add some glue. No, actually, I think I'm going to add a little bit of foam tape to this. Let's raise it up and make it dimensional. So I add a foam tape into the centre of there, foam square, sorry. Remove that, and I'm going to add that to the car about there. Now, doesn't that look fab? I love this set. You could spend ages doing all sorts of different designs for different themes, different seasons, and I've really enjoyed playing with it. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some foam tape, and I'm going to add that onto the card like so. Right, so I've got that added now with some foam tape, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work on a sentiment. Now I'm going to bring in my stamping positioner, and I've just got a stamp here from my stash that says congratulations. I've got a small scrap of white card, and again I'm going to ink this up with a VersaFine and stamp this out. Like so. I'm going to remove that, and I'm going to use my trimmer and cut that out. Right, so I've cut that out and I've cut it into this like banner shape, I guess, and I feel like it just gets lost a little bit, so I just want it to pop a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in one of my tri-blends again, and this is the blue turquoise. I'm going to take that middle colour, and I'm just going to run my pen around the edge of that cut piece, and I feel like it just makes it pop and stand off the card a little bit. This is a great tip if you don't want to add lots of mats and layers. If you have a particular colour that you've used on your card and you want to keep it quite flat and quite simple but have the look of the dimension from all the different layers, you could use a pen and go around the edge, and that'll look like it's got, you know, various layers on. I'm just going to add a little bit of foam tape to the back of this now, like so, and I'm going to pop that on the card about there. Now the last thing that I'm going to do to just embellish this card a little is I've just got a couple of these like glitter drops, I guess, in blue, and I'm just going to add these to the bottom of this card. Like so, and that is the card complete, and that was using the Crafter's Companion seasonal cards. Thank you.